Hi everyone, my name is Caylynne Sterner and I'm a student at Penn State York. I'm majoring in Human Development and Family Studies with a minor in Rehabilitation and Human Services. Today, I want to talk about something important, college accommodations. You might be watching this as a high school student preparing for college, someone who's already been accepted, or even a guidance counselor supporting students through this transition. I created this video because many high school students with IEPs and 504 plans don't continue using accommodations in college, and that decision often makes things more difficult. At the end of the day, accommodations are designed to remove the barriers of learning and help students succeed in college. In this video, we'll talk about why accommodations matter and how to get them. Many students who qualify for accommodations in college don't end up using them. This can happen for a variety of reasons, such as wanting a fresh start, feeling embarrassed, or simply not knowing how to access support. While these concerns are valid, not using accommodations can actually make the transition to college much harder. One important difference to understand is, in high school, accommodations are often put in place for success. In college, accommodations are provided for equal access. So the goal is to remove the barriers to learning. Without support, students may experience stress, have difficulty keeping up, and experience burnout. But when students feel supported, they're more likely to succeed. Instead of thinking of yourself as a student with a disability, think of yourself as a student using tools to succeed. Choosing not to use accommodations doesn't mean you're doing it independently. It often means you're doing it a harder way. Before arriving on campus, there are a few important steps that you need to take. First, request a copy of your IEP and 504 plan before graduating from your guidance office. These can be helpful, but it's important to note that they will not cover everything colleges require. You should also try to get a reevaluation report, any educational reports, and documentation from a medical provider if applicable. And having these updated documentations is really important for the approval process. If possible, keep these documents online so that they're easy to access and more secure. Every school will handle accommodations differently, but taking these steps early helps make the transition smoother and less stressful. Once you've chosen your college, the next step is connecting with the Disability Service Office. While the process may vary slightly, most schools require 3 things: an introductory form, like a questionnaire, documentation, so a doctor, reevaluation, or educational report, and an interactive process. The interactive process is a conversation between you and the Disability Service Office, where you talk about your needs and determine appropriate accommodations. This process is guided by legal guidelines to ensure fair access. After this, you'll receive an accommodation letter to share with your professors. Remember that every college has a different process, so it's important to start early and ask questions if you're unsure. Let's see what the interactive process looks like for a student that just started college.
So nice to meet you. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for signing all the paperwork and doing all that to get us to this point, which is what we call our intake meeting. The most important thing about this is what's known as the interactive process. And that is where you and I together, based on the information that we've received from you and also from the information from the doctors that you shared with me, we will determine what accommodations are going to be best for you here at Penn State York. Do you feel pretty confident about being a good self-advocate?
I think so.
Okay. Because that is super important in college. As you went through your high school career, you probably had a team. Your parents were probably involved. You probably had lots of support. I can be here and I can support you, but it's really based on your needs. And so thank you for reaching out, because we would have never known that you wanted or needed accommodations unless you came forward to my office. The word that is used is disability. So what is the disability or the learning challenges or learning differences that you've experienced that brings you to need accommodations here at Penn State York?
I have cognitive deficits due to malnourishment.
Okay. And so how does that typically manifest itself when you're in the classroom setting, when you're in a learning environment?
It can look like not reading things as fast as other students. I also email the professors often if I don't understand something.
Do you find yourself struggling during exams or?
I'm usually one of the last people to leave.
Okay. And I did see that based on your 504 that you had in high school, that was one of your accommodations there, that you were allowed extended time.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm thinking is what makes sense. The standard for extended time is called time and a half. Here, you and I are going to communicate every semester, and if we need to make changes, we will. The other thing with time and a half that I need to make you aware of is sometimes students don't like having to go to a separate room. There might be times when the professor can't give you that extended time in the classroom. So if we put that as an accommodation, typically we couple that with coming here to take your exams.
Okay.
But also, please know, again, you're in charge of that. So if it's a quiz or a small exam that you want to stay in the classroom, you're allowed to do that as well. Aside from the accommodations, if you want to work with one of our coaches or one of our tutors, we can set that up as well, and we can help you work on those, we call them executive functioning skills, that help you keep your schedule on track, so hopefully you don't fall behind, even though it might take you a little bit longer to do some of those things. So the last step is I will work on the accommodation letter. I will email it to you with a bunch of instructions and directions. On that letter, it doesn't say anything about why you have the accommodations. Again, that's very private, just between you and I. The other thing that's very different is you are in charge of that letter. I'm not going to send it to all your professors. I'm not going to share with them. You and I will finish our process. I'll share the letter with you, and then you determine which professors you want to share that with. So any other questions, any other concerns?
No.
Okay. Well, that has been really awesome working with you. Thank you for coming in. I should have that letter to you by the end of the day today, and then you can forward it to your professors when you're ready.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It was really great talking with you and meeting you again. Thank you.
One of the biggest differences between high school and college is responsibility. In high school, teachers, parents, and staff manage most of the process. In college, that responsibility shifts to you. Here is a professor's perspective on students using accommodations in college.
Hi, my name is Dr. Amber Majeske, and I am an associate professor for human development and family studies at Penn State. And I'm excited to be able to talk with you today.
Hello, Dr. Majeske. Thank you for joining us. So, as a college professor, why is it important for students to receive accommodations in college?
I think it's very important that students are able to receive accommodations in college. I recognize that it is on the student to have to get those accommodations, but I've noticed as a professor that in the classroom, I have students of varying abilities. And I've noticed that those that have physical, mental, or emotional challenges struggle in a different way. And I found that those who then get the accommodations are able to demonstrate what they've learned and what they know about the material in a much more fair and equitable way across all students. And so I think it's really important that students get the help and the accommodations that match their need so that the university experience can be more fair in a way, so that they can demonstrate to me what they've learned, and whether that be extra time on a test, a quiet environment to take a test, or maybe some note-taking help so that they can go home and study the material and be able to then learn it and give it back. So I really appreciate the students who take that time, because as a professor, I'm not able to either determine that you get help or you get help, and I'm not able to just make those accommodations. I need that accommodation letter so that the student and I can sit down together and discuss how these accommodations are going to work in my classroom.
Another key difference involves privacy laws, like the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, also known as FERPA. FERPA means that once you turn 18, your educational information belongs to you. Your parents no longer automatically have access, and if you want them to have access, you must sign a release of information form. While the shift can feel very overwhelming, it's also empowering, knowing that you are in control of your learning. Families still play an important role during this transition. Even though students become more independent and FERPA limits direct access, families can be supported by encouraging students, helping with organization, and supporting independence. Support systems are key during major transitions like starting college. Transitioning to college can feel overwhelming, especially when you're navigating accommodations for the first time. But you're not alone. Accommodations are tools designed to help you succeed. They're not something to avoid. By understanding the process, preparing ahead of time, and advocating for yourself, you can set yourself up for success. And remember, using accommodations is not a weakness, it's a strategy. Feel free to save this video and reference at any point. Thank you.